So hello, welcome to What's New, Trending Open Source Projects in the JavaScript universe. My name is Cory Christensen. I'm currently a software engineer at Journal Technologies up in the Great White North, that is Logan, Utah. So even though it's an hour away, hour and a half, it's a little cold up there right now. My goal today is to go through about 10 projects in the course of 20 minutes. If you know basic arithmetic, then you'll quickly pull together. I have less than 2 minutes to go discuss through each of these. So forgive me if any parts feel rushed or oversimplified. I'm just hoping to give you a basic overview of each package, why they are trending. We'll probably do a couple demos, and in the end, I'd like to wrap it up and just kind of talk about where trends are going in general for these new open source JavaScript packages. Great. So here's the qualifications needed that a project needed to make it onto this list. First, that they did have to be open source, as well as they had to be in the JavaScript dominant project. They could have other languages in them, but the primary language had to be JavaScript that it was written in. As kind of a pseudo requirement, they kind of needed to be on GitHub, and I say pseudo because it wasn't an explicit requirement, but if it wasn't on GitHub, it was very difficult to discover and measure how popular the tool was. Plus, GitHub has an excellent discovery platform to just kind of show me what's new out there. Also, GitHub stars, it wasn't an explicit requirement either, but when I had to trim down which packages to actually show you guys today, this was the closest measurement I had to determine whether a project was really trending or not. So with a maximum of 8.5 months, thousands of GitHub stars seem like a good measure that the project is actually trending. And also, as one last requirement, I forgot to put it on the slides, but it also had to, the first commit had to be in this year, so it had to be 2018, January 1st, and later. So all these projects are very fresh. One last thing, I'm hoping to measure how effective this type of presentation is. So I'm kind of acting as a middleman for discovery on new projects here. So at the beginning of each project, I'll ask how many of you have heard or looked into these projects that I name. So if you can give a quick raise of your hands just to kind of give me a measure of that, that would be extremely helpful. Thank you in advance for that. All right, let's get right to it. I'll go through each of these, sorting by ascending GitHub star count. And as I spoiled, so the first is Reach Router. It sits at 3,733 stars on GitHub. It was created by Ryan Florence, who also created React Router. He also gave a presentation about it at React Rally last month. How many of you have heard of this package? Okay, not that many. That's good. So if you do React, he said this in his presentation last month. I've got bad news. I made another router. He wrote React Router and rewrote it basically a few times, and so it's kind of funny that he wrote another one, so I just threw that in there. Side note, this is the only project in this presentation that's actually React specific. I promise. I tried to keep this as framework agnostic as possible. So why would Ryan Florence build another router? Here's a couple of thoughts from React Rally this last month. He wanted to make use of React suspense within the browser history, and that's what he says. That is honestly the reason I built the new router, Reach Router, because I wanted to play with React suspense. The other thing that he mentioned was that it also automatically updates the URL query string from user input, which makes use of the time slicing effect in the new React releases, which allows us to take input from the URL and update the component quickly. Back to React suspense, when he put in the router, it allows us to transition back and forth across browser history very smoothly. When a user clicks on a route, it may take React some time to render the next page. During that render time, what happens when a user clicks to another route? All of a sudden, it's going to insert both routes into the browser history hash. And so now with Reach Router, it takes care of that hash history properly, so it kind of waits until React has finished rendering the next page before inserting into the browser history. Next, let's talk about charts and your mobile app. Coming in next at 4,758 stars, we have a mobile charting library called F2. Has anyone here heard of F2? Nobody. Awesome. Like I mentioned, F2 is a charting library built specifically for mobile devices. It has a parent project called G2. From the README, G2 is a visualization grammar, a data-driven visual language with a high level of usability and scalability. There's a lot of buzzwords in there, but basically all you need to know is that it's another chart.js. G2, however, is based on the publication called The Grammar of Graphics by Leland Wilkinson and seeks to use this charting grammar as a way of building almost every qualitative graphic found in scientific journals. Are you still confused about that? Let's just say you like charts and learning new languages, then this project is for you. I'll also make mention that G2 is slightly more popular than F2, but didn't make this list because it was made in last year. So what about F2? The idea is to bring G2 and mix it in with mobile design guidelines. So to summarize this project in one sentence, if you have a mobile app that uses HTML5, Node.js, Weeks, or React Native, and you need some charts, then this package might have exactly what you're looking for. Now, let's talk about desktop apps and Vue.js. Guido. Have you ever had the itch to create a desktop application using Vue.js, but have this weird, deep, abiding hatred of Electron? Say no more, because now we have Guido, a framework that slams together Vue.js, native GUI components, and as you wish for, no Electron. All silliness aside, because I actually really like Electron, this project has 5,103 stars on GitHub. How many of you here have heard of Guido? One. Awesome. I don't really have to spend much time going over this project at all because it's really straightforward. It's Vue.js and native GUI components plus Node.js, and that equals a neat way to build a desktop application. There's really nothing more to go over about that. So if that's what you want to do, go ahead and go check that out. All right, let's talk about machine learning. How many were aware that TensorFlow had a JavaScript library released this year? Okay, that one's a lot more popular. That's good. For those who don't know what TensorFlow is, it's an open source machine learning framework meant to bring high performance to numerical computations. If you haven't seen any of the projects that are using TensorFlow these days, I'm telling you, set aside some time and just browse through the cool stuff that can be done using TensorFlow. This project comes in at 8,894 stars on GitHub. With TensorFlow.js, the goal is to bring machine learning to the browser, and they've released all the tools you need to get started. There are several tutorials and examples of projects so that you can get started with the machine learning powering web applications coupled with some imagination. I'm sure lots of exciting products are on the way. Next, let's talk about PDF documents. PDF documents are everywhere. Have you ever tried to create a decent looking PDF on your own? Recently, it's not too bad as tools develop further and further, but did you try to create a PDF document 10 to 15 years ago? It was frustrating really, really quickly if you weren't willing to spend some money on some software capable of decent PDF exporting, such as Adobe products or Microsoft products. So I'm really, really glad that we have better tools to handle the horde of PDF documents that we have to deal with. And I'm sure the one burning thing you've been wanting to do your entire career is to create a PDF using HTML and CSS. So today I have good news for you. Relaxed allows you to do just that. Have any of you heard of Relaxed? Okay, so nobody there? Awesome. I'll just show you how it works real quick. So I'm not mirroring display, so this is going to be fun. I'll come over here to Relax.js. So I've written this into a pug file, which is just a shorthand for HTML. all you have to do here is look that I've included a style tag at the bottom so that I can just style the background and anything else I want into it. And so since I have if I open up that style sheet, I cannot see very well from down here. Apologize for that. Great. I'll just add in really quickly some styling for that p tag because I don't have that used right now. So let's just go ahead and give that a quick margin if I can copy and paste right. Excellent. And there we go. Let's just go ahead and add another one in there just to show you how that works. So here's some extra text for you guys. Can't spell. Great. So now if we come back to the command line, I can come in here and just run relax and pass it the name of the file, which I renamed relax.js.pug. And that'll start it up. And if we go back, we should have, over there on the left, there should be a PDF. Is that PDF? There we go. So that's kind of how that works. One more cool thing that it does is it does support hot reloading. So if I come in here and just added another p tag and save that, I can come back there and you can see that it actually updated there. So that's pretty great. And that's pretty much it for Relax. So next, let's talk about your failing career. Kidding. So really this project only applies to web developers, but chances are that if you're using JavaScript, you're a web developer. And if you're a web developer, chances are you've either been willing to be the interviewee or the interviewer for a web development position. And so in web development, there are a lot of topics to cover in a simple interview. So the interview map project, which has 11,617 stars on GitHub, it's here to help with those interviews. So have any of you here, have you heard or used interview map? Nope? Okay, awesome. So where there are careers, where our careers are such a large part of our time, candidates want to be prepared for the position they want, and interviewers definitely want to pick the correct candidate. So from their site, they say, we think that the blind memory of the interview questions is not very useful. Only when you are familiar with various knowledge points and are capable of integrating them, you can get through the interviews. Therefore, this not only makes your interviews more powerful, but also helpful for you to usually study. And this is a really, really extensive project. So here's just a little bit of the topics they cover. So they cover regular expressions, modules, type conversions, scope, promises and async awaits, React, Vue, performance optimization, data structures, cross-site scripting, event loops, cookies, sessions, cores, Webpack, and several others. So those are just a few of the topics that they cover. So it is very, very extensive. And this will be a project to keep on an eye because they still are adding more topics as they go along. I think this is just the start of an excellent way to have the resources for these interviews. Okay, now let's talk about your favorite operating system. All right, so it was spoiled a little bit this morning, and I'm not kidding about this. Windows 95 is an open source JavaScript project this year. How many of you noticed that or have known about this? This might be my favorite project on this list. It currently has 12,189 stars on GitHub, and it's definitely the least practical of all of these projects. So from the GitHub README, this is Windows 95 running in an Electron app. Yes, it's the full thing. I'm sorry. And so now I really know that you hear Windows 95 running in an Electron app, and there's only one burning question in your mind right now. Well, let's do a demo. Okay. So I'm going to mirror the display real quick because that was dumb. It's in a very alpha state. Oh, there's the display. Okay. And so I will say this was extremely difficult to actually get running properly, but it can be done. So if I come down here to my applications, you can see I just have Windows 95 just sitting down there. So why not? Let's boot it up. I was really concerned about this part because this morning we were having resolution issues. And that's about as good as it gets for now. Let's see here. Oh, it's working. And don't you just miss these boot up times. All right, let's come over to C drive, and since I messed with the image, I can go into program files. Oh, look, there's a folder called Doom. To get this to work properly, and a couple of the bugs, I have to go here to settings, and actually I have to go to advanced properties and tell it to apply these changes without restarting, because if it restarts, then it crashes. If I hit OK, that should bring that down. Yes, I want to keep that setting, and then at the same time, we have to bring this out to 256 colors. Do any of you remember having to do this for games? Good times. We'll hit OK, and we'll keep that setting. Now we have a very tiny screen, and let's see what happens. Oh no. Look at that. Playing Doom. So just a piece of advice, because I feel like obligated to tell you this. Don't do this at home or at work. At least you could try this at home, but it'd probably be more worth your time to do something else. But this is fantastic, and I just love the creativity that that's kind of brought to these new projects. Like, just because you shouldn't doesn't mean you can't. Like, I don't know how to phrase that right. Like, and I think there's a lot of value to that, right? Just being able to just do something creative, like install an old operating system. Like, that's super creative. And if you were to play around with it, I'm sure you have to actually learn a lot of the underworkings of JavaScript and Electron to actually be able to pull that off. And so if you definitely go give that a check out. If you need help running Doom, you can come to me, and it'll be just a good time. Okay, now let's talk about time objects in JavaScript. So I have 2 minutes, so I'm going to rush through these ones. So this is DayJS. Who here knows about DayJS? Nobody. Oh, wait, one person I noticed. Okay, excellent. So in the last 7 years, if you've worked with date and times in JavaScript, chances are you've run into Moment.js. Moment.js is a popular open source library with a modern API for handling dates and times in easy, manageable ways. You might be aware of Moment's big problem. It has a huge bundle size in comparison to other packages. So recently, an alternative called DayFNS has been gaining traction as an alternative, and it's a good option. But if you want one more alternative to Moment, you can check out JS. It boasts of the relatively small size of 2 kilobytes and still follows Moment's APIs and patterns. It is small, immutable, and supports all browsers, and it also has international support. So definitely give that a look. Now let's talk about JavaScript runtimes. How many of you have heard of Denno? Okay, I'm actually surprised how few of you have heard of Denno. So this is interesting to all of us because this project has 25,481 stars on GitHub. Currently, basically, the creator of Node.js, Ryan Dahl, has taken a look at what Node has become, and he has had a few regrets about Node, like not sticking with promises. My mouse disappeared, so okay, there it is. Using the JIT build automation tool, and as you might guess, Node modules, just to name a few of his regrets. So to help alleviate some of these regrets, Dahl has come up with Denno, which is a new TypeScript runtime also built on V8. Denno seeks to improve security, take advantage of modern code infrastructures, and simplify the module system. It is important to know that in his conference talk, Ryan Dahl stamped a large do not use warning on this project. It's basically pre-alpha, and has a long way to go, but it's definitely a project to keep your eyes on and see where it pushes development in the future. Also, it'd probably be cool if you started contributing to that because I'm really interested to see where it goes. Just one more. So let's talk about JavaScript, your knowledge about computer science. So JavaScript algorithms, this is the most trending project today at 36,786 stars. Has anybody here heard of that one? Just one. So I find it interesting, out of all the projects, the most popular one is the one about how to implement popular algorithms and data structures in JavaScript. For those of you who don't know how sorting algorithms work, what big O notation means, take some time, look at this project. It's big, and I don't think it's a coincidence it's the most popular project on the list. If you have any thoughts to why it might be the most popular, I'd love to have a discussion with you. So anyway, I'm pretty much out of time, so just scrolling through. Most of these tools there's a lot of framework library tools, machine learning is continuing to grow, and there's a shift to focus on the roots of computer science. I believe that's related to the need for more computer scientists. Bonus, these slides were used a new project called MDXDeck, and yeah, thank you. Hit me up on Twitter if you want to talk about new projects, and yeah, let me know how this format was. Thank you.